Well, it's day 2 of the Rose City Vintage Market. Hello, everybody. A little early for cigarettes. Snack bar people are getting ready, but if you don't want to wait for them, well, there's a bar right here you can belly up to. No one's serving, but it's a great bar. It reminds me of the Brasilia line because of the arches, although it is not exactly that. But it is a really neat piece with the padding around the edges here. Lots of drawers too, very functional. This is silver overlay, and this is not electroplate. If these pieces broke, you would have the silver in the shape as a solid piece of silver. And this is the high end of silver. The electroplate is nice because it has this look, but this is the real stuff. And they have some gorgeous pieces in ruby and cranberry glass. They have 2 cases at 50% off, which is amazing because they have beautiful things in here. You know, I usually save my low end for 50% off, but for me, this would be my high end. Only $10 on the chamber stick with Jack and the Beanstalk in it. Tapestry frame here. They have just beautiful porcelains, all from about 1910. These are Schaffer and Botter, the blue pieces here. Baccarat Rose Chianti. I like the tumble up in the back there.
Yeah, isn't that pretty?
It is really pretty. All of this is so beautiful. Lots of small little pillboxes, dresser boxes, enameled pieces. The rug fillers here, these are Navajo, real ones. Tied at the corners, or the ties in some cases have been cut. Power to the People. This is an early 70s civil rights era printing. You have a little bit of the holdover of that Art Nouveau influenced psychedelia. Shelley from Flanagan and Lane has wonderful fans this time. This is something I haven't seen her carry before. Look at the mother of pearl on this one and the beautiful printing, mostly made in France. This one with the tortoise shell and the black lace. Chantilly lace, in fact. Dennis Canavan is probably the premier dealer in mid-century dinnerware. I see Bauer ring. I see this wonderful beverage set with the holder and all of the cups with the handles. This is Bauer. It's very unusual to see it in the wrought iron. This is the Monterey pattern from the 1930s, and they've got $9.25 for the set. Catalina Island is the early mark. If it says just Catalina or Catalina Pottery, it's later. Chop plate is $2.55. Here is the Brayton Laguna purple cow set. This is the cow, the bull, and the calf. I've had just the cow. I sold it on eBay a few months ago. Here he has all 3 pieces in one place, along with a bunch of the early Disney pieces made by American Pottery and other California companies. Brayton Laguna did some of these as well. And Blanco. I love Blanco. I wish I was finding more Blanco. I have a couple of pieces here, but he's got the ruby red, which is an earlier color, 1940s color you don't see too often. This neat dealer sign. I really like the proportions on this bottle from about 1980. You don't really see a lot of the stuff from that period of time, and they're ambrina, or tangerine as they actually call it. Very distinct shading between the two. It's a very abrupt color change, and that's one way you can tell a Blanco amberina, or as they said, tangerine piece, from their competitors on first sight. This space has a lot of wonderful Howard Pierce porcelain, and they even have the book so you can get a little more information on it. Howard Pierce, they tend to be very modernist. They tend to be really very stylish and yet in neutral colors. The pelicans are especially hard to find. I love seeing these in person. I have not run into many of these ever anywhere, and I've never owned one. And then there's the penguin. And then a fabulous, huge panther lamp with the big shade. These folks have a lot of militaria, including these cool early pieces from camps. We see a lot from the Second World War, but this is Camp Lewis, which was the First World War designation for what became Fort Lewis in Washington State. This is from the USS Claxton. And this is felt. And here's the U.S. Navy with the USS Kiwama. This is going to date to right around 1900, 1910, and that one is priced at $95. A whole bunch of plaid blankets. A lot of these are going to be Pendleton, some will be Faribault, namely 19 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. These from the Yellowstone Park line. And this one's got the Beaver State label for Pendleton Woolen Mills. A lot of interest here in Oregon and anything made by Pendleton particularly. Very fun advertising. Macmillan Oil is kind of a neat thing, the big M. You don't see that so often. The General Tire. I love this guy. Slow in the school zone. Looks like somebody might have gone a little fast and run into him at one point. Kitchenware. Well, hey, we are in the era of Pyrex, and they have a couple of really nice sets here in great condition, and also a bunch of jadeite. And they have both the earlier McKee jadeite, which if you notice is a little lighter color, and it's got a tinge of custard in it, so that will actually glow a little bit under a black light, I understand. That's why it says uranium glass on her tag. And then the 50s era Fire King jadeite, that does not glow, but it's beautiful, and there's a lot of collectors here. We get people from as far as Japan coming to this show looking for this. Some really great art here too. I like the modernist piece on the left, but the one on the right is significant because this is an Oregon artist by the name of Perry L. Manser, and that is Mount Hood. This is a listed regional artist, and that is a very large piece, and Manser only lived into the 1920s, so his work is really sought after by Northwest art collectors. This one's priced a little over $4,000. They have several macaw baskets there, as well as some other tribes. And we actually have a lot of good Native American at this particular show. And it's great to have a good toy dealer here. There are a huge bunch of big old Lionel and American Flyer trains, all sorts of sets as well as individual cars. And then this area here, it says it's half off, but that means a lot of these cannons are only in the $50 to $65 range, and some of these big bangs, that's a pretty good deal. This is a neat piece made in Hamtramck, Michigan, where Chryslers were made. It says it is the Betts and Bodius Derrick. These folks are viewers, and they're doing a show here for the first time. They are selling some of their own collection, some inherited pieces, and wow, what a fun and interesting display and a lot of variety. And you know what's going to happen with this hat. If your feathers are all in a ruffle because you're not getting to see all of my videos, well, please subscribe and then click the bell to be notified of future videos. It doesn't cost anything, and that way you won't miss a thing that we're doing as we're out in the wonderful world of antiques and vintage. And you never know what hat I'm going to wear next. This is neat. Good housekeeping prevents fires, and this is where you would put your cigarette. This is from about 1950. This is cool. You will definitely see repurposing here. This is the front end of a late 30s Chevrolet pickup, and it is turned into a bar, and then a Ford Model A radiator shroud is turned into a wall-mounted bar. Those are just a lot of fun. An entire full taxidermy on this guy. But they have a lot of really interesting stuff. Here is a showcase, a very nice little round vitrine, full of all sorts of cast iron banks. They've got the bulldog, they've got the lion, they've got the elephant, but they also have some we don't see too often, the horse with the horseshoe. These Black Americana pieces are unusual. There's not enough time for me to model all those hats. But these dolls are wearing some pretty cool hats too, and wow, what a neat selection of dolls. A whole lot of 1930s composition we see on this shelf. They have a black rag doll in the back. They have a bride doll in composition. A whole lot of really cool 1930s era dolls in here, amongst others. And then there's a whole shelf of early Barbies right above the dealer's head there. And then the other half of the booth, she has really fantastic pottery. She's got Roseville. She has a nice piece of wisteria that she got from me yesterday, actually. Hello, Janet. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Oh, good. I'm just doing a little filming before we get so busy that I can't. She's got some Vitosi and other Italian pottery here. She really knows her ceramics, and she has great stuff. This Hager with this kind of poodle effect. But then you get up in here, there is the Roseville and the Magnolia pattern, Snowberry. This is an unusual piece here. It's set up to be a double caddy. You could even use as a candlestick. And this one says it is Weller Mission, and I have not seen this piece in the Clinton Ivory before. This is right out of the biker era. It is decoupage, it is 70s. It's got that crazy outline. Born to be wild, well, some of these folks really were. These are fun. These are out of Harper's Weekly. They would have originally been a woodblock relief print, and then they were hand-colored. These are out of the December 24th, 1881 version, and it's Hello, Santa Claus, and Hello, Little One. This is when telephones are practically brand new, so that was a very new idea at the time. And they have this priced at $4.85 as presented. Two very cute yard longs, 36 inches long, from about 1900. A yard full of puppies and a yard full of little chicks saying spring is here. The puppies are priced at $3.65. The chicks are a little more expensive. And then this, we just sold some of these on eBay recently for a friend of ours. This is the privé, meaning private toilet, and that bulldog is not letting you use it, no matter how desperate you are. This is part of the series by Boris O. Klein called The Dirty Dogs of Paris, which made him quite famous as an artist. Look how fantastic this booth looks, too. One of the things that's really great about this market is that it's not just about rows and rows of little collectibles. Some of this is about creating a vignette, creating a scene, imagining how you might display these things at home. And I think they've done a really good job taking a lot of disparate things and making a really interesting presentation out of it. And then we have the clock dealer again with all of the motion clocks. They have so many great ones. Pluto batting his eyes, the classic waterfalls. This one's just terrific with the fish swimming in the aquarium. You have the ballerina here. These are just so much fun. From the 1940s and 50s primarily were the peak of these, although they did some earlier and some later. There's the majorette with her baton. The fisherman, and you can see he actually dips his pole. Those almost never are complete and in working order, so this is a fantastic assortment. Well, we are officially open, so I'm probably going to have to stay in my space for a while. Naomi is setting up the last pieces of her display. I have my stuff pretty much out, and boy, is there a ton. I brought a ton. It's almost all fresh. Almost none of this has been at a show in the Northwest before. Everything from Space Needle lighters. The Salviati piece I don't think I've had in the Northwest. It's going to stay here. I've sold those here before. I have some fresh Art Deco. These are Royal Rochester. I always love those designs. They actually painted on other people's blanks. There's a Keen print, a real one, with the signature hiding in here. The Hager Dancer, the Hetty Shoup Man, a Weller Lorbeek vase. I think it's the last piece of Lorbeek I have. I might have one pair of candle holders as well. This section, I just have a small section of toys and related things, advertising, but we definitely have people looking for that. I love the cold drink keg. That's something brand new to me. And just fun stuff. I tried to bring a lot of fun things and a variety of things because, well, that's what I do, but also because I figured this show, they like to see that. Here's this really neat steamer trunk. I'm using it as shelving. We'll see when we get to the other side. These are really neat. These are small handbills for the Modern Art Pavilion at the Seattle World's Fair. No one has really seen the small handbills before. And there was a stack of new old stock that came to a friend of mine, and he asked me to bring some. So we'll see if we've got World's Fair collectors coming. I suspect we do. Swarovski, a nice piece of Roseville Silhouette, a nice piece of McCoy. I brought one of the volumes of the Stereographic Library. I brought a couple of Wolford lamps because Laura Caldwell, who was here on Saturday filming, well, she introduced us to those, and they are collectible for sure. There's the steamer trunk. I had to take the drawers out and use them sideways so I could make shelves out of them because I was really desperate for space. I have linens that have never been used from the 50s, a very pretty Fenton bowl. I wanted to hide these back here because I want to make sure that one with the relief stays crisp and not damaged. I brought Floridiana, which I usually don't, but it sells here and it's summer and I'm not in Florida. So if it doesn't sell here, I can take it back with me. But I've got the butterfly wing piece and a couple of flamingos. Sold the big Blue Mountain pottery fish, but I still have the Royal Hager sailfish and a John Perry orca. And it's a Sunday morning, but we're already starting to fill up with people in the booth. Hello there. Oh gosh, it looks great.
Yeah.
You've got some really great signage. I love the way that you built up the booth where you can hang the signs where people would actually see them. That was pretty smart.
Actually, I got the backdrop inspiration from here because they rented out.
Yeah. The backdrops really make a difference when you realize how hanging stuff sells it. You're like, oh, I need a backdrop at every show.
Yeah, I can't sell a sign laying on the floor,
Exactly. Yep. They want to see it the way it's going to actually be. How's the show been for you?
Decent.
Good.
I brought nice stuff, and that's really fast.
Exactly. The good stuff. This is the Portland crowd is pretty sophisticated, and they know what's good, and they will step up for what's good.
They just have a nose for what's brand new, never been to a show before. Like those were the first three things I sold.
It's always the stuff you just got, but tell me about this guy.
The carousel horse from the 30s.
He's so cool.
Amazing. I mean, it's the colors on that. Like Americana is like the color tone we go with.
Yeah.
It's just jumped out at us. Little numbers on the back I like, and even like the little patches that they did over the years with the metal plate.
Oh, it's so great. All the repairs and everything. It just tells its whole history.
The research, it shows like they came over from England.
Interesting.
It's the 30s carousel horse. And what's kind of cool too is you can see that it was the horse base was sloped.
It's fantastic. How much is that piece?
We're right around 500 on that.
Yeah. Oh, well, that seems very reasonable for what it is. I'm in the right place. That would just be so dynamic and a focal point. And I bet you won't go home with it. This is a really cool repurposing. There's a lot of quilts that are threadbare or damaged, but Elizabeth Street, Portland, Oregon, turned this into a very, very cute coat. I brought a lot of posters to this show, and a lot of people did, because posters seem to be, well, they're graphically so interesting. They cover so many different interests, whether you are a heady person, a concert person, a military person, or a travel person, for example. I really like this one in the middle of the YWCA from the First World War. For every fighter, a woman worker. That was the first time that women in the workforce started to really be respected and needed. And it really changed things a lot. For one thing, it led to a big increase in sale of makeup because women were suddenly going to jobs in industrial plants with harsh lighting, and they started to make up more. It became more popular because of it. This is also First World War. And be patriotic. Sign your country's pledge to save the food. Thankfully, wars don't last forever, and then we get to travel again. This is TCA Airlines. That's unusual. TransCanada did go to England. TransCanada has been absorbed into, I believe at this point, Air Canada. This is BOAC, British Overseas Air Company, another corporation, another one that isn't around anymore, and Scandinavian Airline Service. And these are just such fun posters. If you like Hawaiiana, there's a good reason to have it. And if you like surfing, there's a good reason to have it. So posters are cross-collectible, and that's another thing that makes them desirable. So fun to see people come dressed to the vintage fashion. People who love it really love it, and they come and show off. Naomi is sharing with me this time, and she had some really cool stuff, and a lot of it sold. So I want to show you some of the highlights of what she has left, because I didn't really get to do that yesterday. She has a little gold jewelry, which we put in my case for safekeeping. But she likes the jewelry too, and she's got interesting thing in taglios and some sign pieces. These are Emmons. I did not know that Emmons did a Nefertiti pair of earrings. This is Sarah Coventry. It's one of the nicer things they had made for them. And then this is really great. Look at those inverted stones, and so shiny and spectacular. I'm surprised this one's still here. That's a fantastic looking piece. These are fun. These are by Avon, and Naomi is one of the people who helped teach me to start looking at Avon. These are just great. I've had these before and didn't realize they made them, and I just love the kinetic mobile aspect of them. She's also got a very pretty Florenza box here, hinged with all the stones. Florenza, of course, made jewelry, but they made a lot of these little dresser accessories too. They were not strictly a jewelry maker, which made them a little different. And they were very popular in the 70s and produced until 1981. thought I saw her holding a rosary, and it's not. It's actually a really nice check piece, and this actually will fluoresce under a black light. It's too bad we don't have a way to shine one on it and show, but that's a really neat piece. And I love this check piece out of the 30s, that Chinese red. She has it priced at $95, which I think seems really reasonable for what it is and the look. If I had that where my check collector in Florida is, she would grab that immediately. She sold a wonderful Weller Owl wall pocket, but she still has the Baldwin apple bud vase here, which is really nice. I like the horse here. This is Aldo Londi. What a fun design that is. The lava glaze is neat. She is not afraid to mix antiques in with the vintage. This is Robert Cook Perrion ware. It is priced at $210. This is going to date to sometime around 1870, 1880, when this was very popular. And then at the same time, we have these cool canisters from the 70s and some really fun glass. So she's had a good show, I think, because she's brought a really interesting mix. She's got paper ephemera. It's just really fun to do the shows with someone. I'm very grateful that she was willing to do this, and I hope we'll get to do them again in the future. Even the little owls are cute. But owls are something she collects. These are 80s clip earrings, but they're so much fun with all that color and that confetti and that day glow. This is the kind of 80s jewelry I'm looking for because I just think it's fun, and that will be the interesting gateway to collecting that era. Just came into this set as well with this great Aurora Borealis in the pinks and reds. These fun red, I guess they're red pears, these ear clips. I have a strawberry pin they'd look good with. These are from about 1970. This piece here, this is copper, and this is signed Rebaje, and Rebaje is a good maker. There's our signature there. So if you see that signature out there, pick it up, especially if it's inexpensive, because Rebaje sells very well. It's actually more popular with the copper collectors than the Renoir and Matisse. The necklace on top here is Fendi. It's one of the newer pieces I have, but it's such a good name, I went ahead. And then various sunglasses. I did sell the designer sunglasses yesterday. Haven't sold the red 80s shoe phone yet, but I bet we will because it's fun and it works. Well, this booth is so much fun. It's so rich and there's so many great things. And I mean, even the way that says she's dressed in the hat. Have you done the show before? I thought so. Yeah, you have just wonderful stuff. This big this embroidery shawl is fantastic. I just sold one and mine was not in near as good condition as this.
This one is a piano cover, so
It's a piano shawl, yeah.
And heavier.
Yeah.
Than the silk.
That you would wear for yourself. And that's probably good because the silk kind of needs that heft to stay together, it seems like. It's just beautiful. Do you mind me asking how much?
That one's $650.
$650, yeah. It's just gorgeous. One of the nicest I've seen in a long time. You have such interesting things. I love that you have real vintage fashion. I mean, just this first dress looks like it's right out of the 60s.
Yeah.
And that beautiful, that looks like a 1940s, the purple velvet with the...
It's 30s.
30s.
Yeah, and you don't find them anymore.
No.
Because they've been so popular for so long that
they're all in collections, yeah.
Yeah, so
It is just beautiful.
you know, they did that. So
The batwing sleeves.
so you didn't have the purple perspiration.
Exactly, so you didn't see sweat stains. Yes, so elegant.
And this is Chinese, probably from the 20th century.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous piece, actually. True antique, and that's beautiful with all the stitching.
Yeah, I try to stick just with vintage, but sometimes, you know, like
Well,
ethnic or something really.
exactly, and vintage is, vintage is a somewhat loose definition, especially in clothes. It seems like, it's 20 years a generation. Oh my gosh, that's terrific. That is so cool. I have not seen a bonnet on anyone in a long time. It's so cute.
This is Dutch.
Is it?
It's from a Dutch outfit. And since I collect hats, I buy all kinds of different hats.
Oh, yes. You have some beautiful hats, actually. I really like this.
Oh, yeah. This one it looks 20s, but it's a remake from probably the late 40s, early 50s.
It's so nicely done. Oh, yes, that's right. We forget that there's nostalgia and revivals all along in history. So,
yeah, yep.
What a wonderful display and really fun things.
And this one is when you know what Gibson girls are, right?
Yes, yes.
They did, Gibson girl hairdos, this was on the top and
you pinned it in because you had
into
the
the
high,
bun.
tall hair, right?
So
Exactly.
it's very large.
Oh, that's nice for today, though, because so many things from that era are very small, but that's an interesting reason because it had to hold on a lot of hair. Thank you for that.
Absolutely good.
So now when we see those sorts of things and think, why is this so big? Now we know the reason.
Wonderful.
Well, this specialist in Native American always has really great stuff, but I wanted to show something a little different this time, and he has a really nice grouping of totems. And these are signed. This one is Johnson in the front here. This in the red cedar and clear bark is by Trevor Hunt. A lot of these artist signed pieces from 1970s, 80s. This is when a lot of the ethnography in the Northwest became very collectible, and you'll see good prices on these. There's also something really wonderful that he's got. Dance hats from what culture?
Put this one on here?
Sure, yes.
Oh,
no, that's great. I just love to show it. And what culture are these from?
Lower Klamath River tribes, one of two or three, which would be most likely Hupa or Yurok or Karuk.
Okay.
Upriver, and generally used more alder dyed fern root, more browns light. This see a more of a darker style. This would be upriver. This would be Karuk because they also used redbud, which doesn't grow by the water. So
Right, exactly, yeah.
Hupa still could use redbud, or they trade the Karuk for it, but the Yurok were coastal, and
They didn't have access much at all. Very interesting, and I just love the fact that these were made as hats, even though they look like bowls upside
As a
down.
matter of fact, when a young girl had her puberty ceremony, about 11 or 12 years old, she was given her first dance hat that was woven by either her grandmother, great-grandmother, or mother. So very few gals weave or don't even understand the gathering of the plant materials, that there's no one to make their first hat.
Oh, right.
So this gal buys them back and gives them to these girls.
And they're actually using them for their ceremony again. That is a really great thing that's happening, actually.
Yeah, there's some really good natives that have decided.
These are not terribly inexpensive things.
No.
What are the prices on these days?
For example, this is $1,400. This is almost $1,100.
Yeah, because they're just that hard to find. May I show your card?
Yeah.
This gentleman is very knowledgeable about Native American, and if you have interesting pieces and you're not sure about them, he might be a good source for you, or if you're a collector, he'd be a great source for you. So I wanted to show his card. Thank you so much for taking a moment with us. There's some really fun repurposing. The UFO lamp made out of a ceiling fixture, a propeller boat lamp for $80, lamps made out of coffee pots and cocktail shakers, and the penguin hot cold keeper turned into a lamp. So you can make almost anything into a lamp, and they're really fun. And imagine having something like this in your kitchen. Some people are so imaginative, and the fact that they have the skill to create these things is really special too. So this is one form of repurposing I like. Ukiyo-e from Japan, some really wonderful print block pieces here. These folks are specialists in Asian art and antiques. This is Shogun's Gallery, and they have a wonderful booth. If this is your taste, it is really, really handsome stuff, well put together, and they have some nice old pieces. This chest of drawers here is about $600. This is Meiji period of Japan, so it is a true antique. They've been here in Portland since 1980. And there is their address. I like the Kokeshi dolls, of course, and a lot of mid-century collectors like these because that's when we see a lot of them. They, of course, are much older than that in Japan, but we saw a lot come over after the Second World War, so there's familiarity in our culture. If Asian is your thing, they have obi, they have basketry, they have a very nice selection, and it's just really neat to see. This is something that we see out west. We don't see a lot of Asian-specific spaces in other parts of the country, but there is a real understanding of it here. I like this obi in the oranges. This looks like it'd be 1960s or 70s. Well, this is Billy Galaxy's space, and he's got a lot of paper here today, but I have to say, I sold him some Star Wars figures, and I didn't know what they were, and he paid me far more than I asked because he did know what they were, and that is the sign of an honest dealer. So this time he's brought a bunch of vintage Sports Illustrated and Sport and priced at 10 each or 3 for 20, which is pretty good price. Some of these individual issues, if there's somebody you really love, or you're a big Bart Star fan, some of these individually are worth more. His big specialty is really toys and games and that kind of vintage, but he just has a really fun variety of different things. So I wanted to take a moment to show his spot because I think it's really fun. And boy, I could not put all my posters out, and now that I see how many everybody else has, it's probably a good thing. It's something I haven't seen before, and I think it's so smart. They actually brought a little canopy tent as a fitting room, because if you're selling vintage fashion and you have something like this beautiful dress, well, you don't know if it's going to fit you if you can't try it. So that's actually a very smart idea. Look at these interesting things where they've taken crutches and rulers and found objects.
He has done a number of those. It's a friend of mine who lives in Meridian, Idaho now.
All the little things, that's what makes it so fun. And then you pull back from it and you're looking at it, it looks almost like a barracuda.
It does, a shark.
Yes, a shark, okay. They're just fantastic, I love it. And you have some really neat old pieces too. I really like the riding animals, the dog especially. I mean, the horse is beautiful, but you never see the dog. Oh, they're just wonderful. Those are out of the 30s, I believe.
That or a little earlier.
Or a little earlier, maybe, yeah. Oh, how much are those? Do you mind me asking?
2 1/4.
2 1/4, gosh, that seems quite reasonable for what it is.
And I think that the dog, even though he's more rare, I think he's probably only 175. I did put a tag on him.
How neat. So many amazing things and so little time. I'm going to have to go back to my booth. I hope I get to come out and film more later.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.